Hello everyone, welcome back to Dasker Discusses. Hope you're doing well. So, what are we here to do today? Well, here to discuss the new Mortal Kombat movie. Review and discussion, that's right. So, let's do this, shall we? But before we do that, I just need to share this on all the social media platforms. So let's do this, shall we? Alright, one sec, let's get to it. Alright, one sec. So, where were we? Lieb Sharp, g'day. G'day to you too. Okay, one sec guys, I'm just posting all this to the socials. Alright, today, come on. Okay, sorry about that. Now, let's get to this, shall we? If you've seen the movie, look, remember, no spoilers in the chat, please. That would be great. Because, you don't want to spoil it for anyone. Mortal Kombat. You know what? Bit of a brief history. Been a huge fan of the series since the mid-90s, right? I remember playing vividly Mortal Kombat 1 on my Sega Genesis. I remember the blood code to get the blood. It was ABACABB during the opening credits, right? Then Mortal Kombat 2 came around. Demetrios, Yasu Re Michali, yes. Yasu to you too. So, I remember playing Mortal Kombat 2. I remember playing Mortal Kombat 3 with a lot of high school friends back in the day. Then 4 turned into the 3D kind of era. Then 5, then 6, then Monks, then all sorts of different ones. 9 was especially cool because it had Freddy Krueger in it. Ethan Grant, g'day. 10 was pretty awesome, Leatherface. Who else was there? Predator was in it. All these weird characters, Alien, all that kind of stuff. And now 11. It's been over 20 years of Mortal Kombat. We had our first movie, Mortal Kombat, 1994, 95. I was a big fan of that. Christopher Lambert playing Raiden. There were some good characters in there. Mortal Kombat Annihilation, total mess. We all know that. Now, 2021 brings us this. Mortal Kombat. Now, looking at it, I saw it at the cinemas, so the only films I've seen recently during this whole pandemic have been Tenet and this specifically. I've been hanging for this for a long time. What can I say about it? Well, firstly, the synopsis according to IMDb. MMA fighter Cole Young seeks out Earth's greatest champions in order to stand against the enemies of our world in a high-stakes battle for the universe. Now, that's pretty much in a nutshell. Now, when I first found out that they were going to use a new character, and this guy Cole Young, played by Lewis Tan, who played a not bad role, we'll get into that in a sec, I thought, oh, what are they going to do here? With such a plethora of MK characters, they decide to introduce someone new. I'm like, okay, how's this going to work out? So, first impressions straight away off the bat, right? Now, we can go through things like we do when I analyze films in class, camels, camera, acting, mise-en-scène, editing, lighting, sound. Plus, you've got the rest, which is like opening, development, all that kind of stuff, resolution, cause and effect, structuring the time. We're not here for a class, whatever that means. We're not here for a lesson in that. We're here for a review and discussion of Mortal Kombat. Finish him! Now, what can I say about it? First impressions were this. Again, no spoilers, but put it this way. The opening 10 minutes of this film, the opening scene was just something else. You already saw this already. Mad invite, haha. Yes, I told you I saw it, the other day. I would have told you, but I went with a whole bunch of friends. You're my friend, you know what I mean? High school friends. So, I recommend you see it because I was just getting to it. Opening 10 minutes, which you can view on YouTube as well. Based in, 1657 Japan. And you've got, there's a character there. Where is he? Here we go. Hang on one sec. Hanzo Hasashi, which ends up being Scorpion with his wife and his kids. and all of a sudden something just doesn't sound right. His wife goes to get some. No, he goes to get some water. He leaves his wife there, and we've got this epic opening sequence. We've got Bihan who comes in, and then there's obviously like a bit of beef happening between these two. They mentioned the Lin Kuei. Now, if you've played Mortal Kombat, you'll know what that's all about. And they battle, and well, I don't want to spoil it, but it is an amazing opening sequence. Now, from that, you have such a great opening. We're introduced to Cole Young, this new character, who, again, is this struggling MMA fighter, and he kind of like runs into Sonya Blade, and he's got this mark on him, which means that he's like destined to be a fighter for Earth against like the powers that be from another world, the nether realm as well. So there's like Outworld, sorry. So there is, put it this way, it's just this film. Well, the more I say about it, the more I'm going to spoil, but put it this way. There was some amazing parts of it, right? There was some really great scenes. Cinematography was great. The fight scenes, choreography was great as well. Set design was good. Music, like soundtrack, wasn't as good as the original 1990s version, put it that way. The problem we have with Mortal Kombat was that it's sprinkled with greatness in terms of like the Scorpion Sub-Zero rivalry that happens that isn't really that much in it, to be honest, right? So what you see in the trailer is like a lot of it, but I just find that, put it this way, the first half of the film, when you're trying to build on this Cole Young character, and like he meets Jax, he meets Sonya, and then we meet Kano through there, which we'll get to in a sec. It's just it's not his fault. It's not Louis Tan, the guy playing Cole Young's fault, but I just think the writing of the film is just, his lines are just very wooden, weak, and boring. It's just, he's kind of saying the most obvious kind of lines, if that makes sense. I know it doesn't make sense, but when you see it, you'll know what I mean. And it's a shame that they went that path where there's so many different ways you could have gone with so many different characters in MK, but they decided to introduce a new character. The actress that played Sonya Blade was okay. The guy that played Sub-Zero, Joe Taslim, as he's known here, Bihan / Sub-Zero, was, I think, the most menacing character in the whole film, and he played an amazing role. Now, what was cool about Sub-Zero was that you got to see him what he would be like if he was kind of on Earth, like in a normal street, and what happens. And that whole introduction of him and like how everything freezes over when he's around is quite creepy. It's kind of like a horror movie in a way. Then Jax, he was an okay character. Some really good fight scenes between Sub-Zero, Jax, and other people as well. Kano wins. That whole part of the first opening, the first half of the film with that and Sub-Zero getting to Earth and doing all that was fantastic. Then we get to meet, Sonya, and we get to meet Kano. Now, I think, and a lot of reviewers have said this as well, and I agree, is that Kano, the guy playing Kano, Josh Lawson, Aussie guy, if it wasn't for him actually being in the film in that first half and bringing humor to it, and a bit of dark humor at times, but lighthearted and like making fun of the situation of everything, it kind of reminded me a lot of Johnny Cage in the original Mortal Kombat film. A lot, right? So Kano was a standout. Like every time he was on screen, every time he said a line, you were laughing or listening to what he had to say. Him and Sub-Zero carried this film 100%. The Scorpion battle at the start of the film, you've seen it in the trailer, you've seen it in the opening 10 minutes on the internet as well. It is phenomenal, okay? But other things, going down this list, Lord Raiden. Now, if you thought Christopher Lambert was a bad Raiden in the original Mortal Kombat film, then I'm telling you now, the Raiden in this was really not used that much at all. Like, it's a shame how they kind of like throwaway characters between Raiden, Liu Kang, Kung Lao. They were shadows of themselves from the video game, meaning that their roles were, that they had roles in the film, but they were just not utilized enough, I believe. There was all this whole focus on Cole Young, right? And his family, and him protecting his family. I get it, but this whole point of the film, it's called Mortal Kombat, right? Yet in the film itself, and people may not agree with this as well, there is actually no tournament. Now, we're given like a screen of credits at the start of the film saying, that the Outworld has to win the 10 tournaments, in order to invade Earth, whatever. Shang Tsung, right? Shin Han, the guy from The Dark Knight, I recognized him while I was watching it as well. Again, not as menacing as the original Shang Tsung in the original Mortal Kombat. The guy, he's in heaps of films. He's in Rising Sun with Sean Connery. I can't remember his name, but there is, even though the amount of cheesiness you may find with like the original Mortal Kombat, it's just that with this Mortal Kombat, there is some real great parts, real fantastic, fight scenes and some good acting from some characters, mainly Hiroyuki Sanada and Joe Taslim and maybe Kano, Josh Lawson. But the rest is, even though the budget is huge, it kind of at times feels very B-grade because of the writing and the Kiwifish, the way it's actually structured. Now, what I find is with the fight scenes, some of them are fantastic, but the editing tends to be too fast for my liking. I like my editing kind of like, Enter the Dragon style, where you can see, you got like a more of a long shot of like what's happening rather than just bang, 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 quick, edit, and then that kind of thing. So, first half of the film building up to this, well, not really a tournament, but building up to, Cole Young and his destiny and who is he, etc. When things finally get going, it seems that the whole movie just gets rushed through, where it's this kind of subpar tournament that Shang Tsung not Shang Tsung, but Cole and Sonya and Jax, organize, like, okay, we'll fight, we'll take all these guys on so they don't defeat us. I'll take this guy, you take that guy, you take that guy. And yes, Dimitrios parts were rushed, and that's what I'm saying. Like, there was like 3 or 4 fight scenes happening at once near the last act of the film, and they were like into, parallel editing using, like, where things are happening at the same time, and it kind of like takes you out of that whole moment of just like enjoying a fight scene. Now, what I mean by that is, look at the old Mortal Kombat film, Sub-Zero versus Liu Kang, Scorpion versus Johnny Cage. Look at things like Bloodsport, okay, Van Damme versus this guy, Chong Li versus that guy. Look at Enter the Dragon, Bolo versus all those other minions, or Lee versus Ohara. I know my martial arts films, guys, and Mortal Kombat 1 had a tournament. This was just kind of like, felt like not a prequel, but this film is kind of leading up to something, which is going to be its sequel. Hopefully we get a sequel. Now, you can't really sit there, I mean, I can complain about it and be like, oh, didn't have a tournament, did that, but if they're trying to expand the universe, I get what they're trying to do. I get it. I get what they're trying to do with, like, maybe we're not going to have a full-blown tournament in this film, but in the next one we'll have a huge one, right? Now, a few characters, well, I'm not going to get into it, but, well, you can see it right here. Nitara, again, a very throwaway character. Reiko, I could barely remember him in the games, but he was in it. These two characters are just, these two fights were just pointless in a way. Melina, I thought that they would have done a bit more with her, and I was happy, mild spoiler, when she actually like opened her mouth and you got the teeth thing happening. A lot of Easter eggs in this film as well, and for the diehard fans out there, you would have picked out a lot of things, like when they're going through books and you see there's a picture of Nightwolf, and I'm like, there's going through the history of the tournaments, right? There's like murals of Shao Kahn. Like, if you don't know who Shao Kahn is and you're a fan, well, you're not a fan, obviously. Then there was like a giant fan, like a Kitana fan, and I'm like, okay, that's Kitana's fan there. So there's a lot of like, not throwbacks, but there's a lot of things there that you could pick up if you're a fan. If you're a new viewer of Mortal Kombat, you'd probably be like, okay, cool, Cole Young, he's our protagonist here. What's the big deal? No big deal. But the whole Sub-Zero Scorpion thing, even though the first scene was awesome, if you don't know who the Lin Kuei is and what the folklore, the story kind of behind that, it wasn't really explained that much, but it was still awesome. It was awesome, right? Anything with Sub-Zero in this film or Kano's dialogue was on par, right? It was fantastic. However, it was where things went wrong with just following Cole Young. I'm really sorry, and it's nothing on Lewis's Tan part. It was just that whole character was just weak, wooden, and boring, and like I didn't really care about his story. And I don't want to get into it because I will be like spoiling parts, but to find out your power, like for example, Liu Kang's got his fireballs, Kano's got his laser. To find your power, you got to do this, you got to do that, and then we get, again, like in the trailer, you get a bit of a vision of Goro, and I just think that the character could have just been replaced with someone like, just put Johnny Cage in. Other ones they chucked in, I was very impressed with Cabal. Now, a lot of people didn't like Cabal in the film and the dialogue that he used. Like, he had a lot of speaking parts. I thought it was funny, and I thought it was actually pretty cool how he talks to Kano. Again, not giving away much there. I'm trying not to keep spoilers here, but in the end, the bad parts are just what I said. The storyline is not that it's weak, it's just that if you're expecting a big kind of tournament battle, like, the game, you're not going to get that. It's more of a strangely family-driven narrative between, again, if I say any more, I'm going to spoil it, right? Because it involves Cole Young, okay? So, I'm not going to go down there, but it's just not what you'd expect. Now, you can sit there and go, oh, Daska, you're just a video game fan. You just want to be like, you just want to enjoy it because of, you play the games. Yeah, true. But if you're playing the game Mortal Kombat, I'm going to expect like something that looks like the movie Bloodsport or Into the Dragon, where there's like actual designated fights, not just storyline of some random guy, and then there's a bit of a subplot between Scorpion and Sub-Zero, and then there's like a major rush at the end where it's like, okay, let's go through 4 fights at once, and then I'm going to get to it. In the trailer, you've seen this, the Scorpion Sub-Zero fight, when, obviously Hanzo Hasashi has become Scorpion and throws his harpoon. Get over here! That was worth the price of admission. To see that and to hear that theme come in that you hear in the trailer as well. Again, the soundtrack in the film I thought was really weak, very orchestral, not really like energetic at all, if anything. Orchestral meaning like, a lot of like an orchestra rather than like having some sort of techno. Now, I'm not living back in the past like they do in the 90s in the old one, but when that old theme kicked in with a Sub-Zero Scorpion fight at the end, it felt like you were playing the game, you were watching 2 epic characters that you've loved since you were a kid fight it out on screen. And then Cole Young jumps in or whatever. No tournament in the film, what a bummer. Look, again, I'm not trying to spoil it, mate, but in terms of tournament, like I just mentioned, it's more so a lead up to what I think will be a sequel, which will be a kind of bigger tournament if they do one. Right now, I'm hoping in the sequel that, again, not saying whoever dies in this one or whatever, but you know how it is with Mortal Kombat. They die, they'll come back somehow, right? There's some epic fight scenes, but it just was really like, if you're an MK fan, I left happy, right? I left happy with the final result. I'm like, you know what? That was entertaining. However, as a bigger fan of Mortal Kombat, you're like, I actually wanted a bit more for my, not just for the money, but for like the wait that we've waited so long, yet we can be served up that. Now, to slag it off heaps and give it 4s out of 10s is a joke, okay? Now, I watch a lot of reviewers and ones that I really respect. I'll say it, whatever. Angry Joe gave it like a 4 out of 10. Now, Angry Joe, I love you, mate, but you're never going to watch this. But if you do, really didn't agree with you and other Joe and your other mate. So those were my bad parts, right? Now, we've talked about the plot was the main issue. The great, fantastic parts were some of the fight scenes are amazing and well done. The special effects are actually really well done too. Kano is the star of the show for the first half of the film, then kind of just disappears, which is annoying. Liu Kang and Kung Lao were barely used, and when they were, it was actually cool. They could have used them a bit more. In terms of the gore being rated R, I was, well, first half of the film, I'm like, how is this rated R? It's actually not even that bad. But as the movie goes on, fatality. There is a lot of throwbacks to the original game and original moves from some of the characters. So I was happy with that as a fan, right? Seeing all that. Seeing how they went about structuring, how they went about like using and throwing back to the original games, okay? Now, you can sit there and look at all these reviews. I really don't care. But the majority are pretty good. Some are pretty bad too. What do we got here? So they've given it 6.4 out of 10. Now that's interesting, right? Because as soon as I walked out, I probably would say, oh, look, I'd give that a 7. But I'm probably I'll probably give it between a 6.5 and a 7. That's where it stands for me. I'll have to watch it again, but it was entertaining, and I do want to watch it again, right? Let's have a look at the other Mortal Kombat movie and see what that was rated. I betcha it's probably like 6.2 or something. Let's have a look. 1995. Wow, a long time ago. Now, if you're a fan of Mortal Kombat, I suggest you watch Scorpion's Revenge. 5.8. 100,000 views? 100,000? 50,000. Alright, well, I think 5.8 is really, that's a bit harsh, to be honest. I love that movie. It was cool. Now, back to it. What I was saying. Yes. So, Raiden underused. Liu Kang, Kung Lao, Raiden basically, not getting into it, but hardly throw a punch, if any. Liu Kang, Kung Lao, there's some pretty cool fight scenes between them and them fighting whoever they were. Shang Tsung, I thought Chin Han played a pretty good role in that. And again, throwbacks to the original fatalities and all that with him. But as a whole, it's definitely worth watching if you're a Mortal Kombat fan. You'll be entertained, but I think you'll be wanting more, and that's why I'm hoping there is a sequel for this. Because they really do need to do a sequel, and they need to expand on this. Because what we got was just a kind of like felt like half a shell of what it could have been. Did you like the 2021 film better than the 1995 one? Well, look, hard questions. The thing is that I grew up watching the 1995 one, and it's very difficult to say. Because although the 1995 one is cheesy, sorry. Although the 1995 one is cheesy, okay, and Christopher Lambert and all that jazz, Katana and Sonya and Johnny Cage. Johnny Cage was in this as well, in the old one as well. I have to watch it again, but I think right now I'm still enjoying the original Mortal Kombat film. I need to watch this again, and I just think that the lack of the proper tournament in the new one is what did it for me. Plus, I'm going to go back to it over and over, this whole Cole Young business. But again, not spoiling anything, there is some sort of payoff in the end, but you just have to watch it and see for yourself. They really should have used that protagonist character to maybe insert another Mortal Kombat character. Could have been Johnny Cage, just like in the old one, or they could have used literally anyone. They should have made Louis Tan's character maybe Liu Kang, but then they would have been copied in the other one, and then no one would be happy. But in the end, 6.5, max 7. It's worth a watch if you're a fan of Mortal Kombat. But just the cinematography and some of the imagery in it is definitely definitely worth it. Like, this stuff here in Japan, it just feels realistic and real. It feels like you're there. Okay, there was some really good and brutal scenes in there. And violence, well, look, like I said, I thought it would have been a lot worse, but it was pretty graphic in some parts. But cinematography was great. The way it looked was great. Editing at times got a bit too much in terms of the fight scenes were just way too edited too much. But it's entertaining, okay? It's not going to win Oscars. It's not meant to be like, Citizen Kane or Shawshank Redemption. It's a fighting movie, okay? I think they did a good job, but it could have been done a bit better. Fingers crossed that the sequel that we get is going to be what we were after in terms of like a bigger full-scale tournament rather than kind of like a rushed kind of thing. So now this director is built, and the writers, well, Greg Russo, David Callahan, one of these guys, I think it was Greg Russo, he wrote, well, what is it? Hang on, no, not him. One of these guys was a writer for Wonder Woman 1984. When I heard that before the movie was done, I'm like, oh, I really hope that the script isn't too dry. Like Wonder Woman 1984 was just, ugh, don't even go there. And that's the thing. It's some glimpses of this cheesy, real wooden, boring dialogue. But anyway, enough of that. 6.5 out of 7. How long are we going? 26 minutes. Wow. Okay. Long review and discussion, but that's what we're here for. Just want to say thanks to every one of you guys for tuning in. Obviously, when this finishes rendering, it'll be on my channel, so you can watch it again. Or, well, yeah, you're watching it now. I want to say thanks, and please don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't so already. And I might be jumping on a stream soon, maybe a bit of Fortnite. What time is it? I don't know. If I do, I'll see you then in about 10 minutes. Or if not, then you won't see me, obviously. But yeah, thanks for everything, guys. Please leave a comment as well. Let me know what you thought of all this. And I'll see you guys on the next episode of Daska Discusses. Finish him!